Do we feel any better today? Do we feel any better at all today? Feels like the answer might be no. I think as the juices start to get flowing Thursday and Friday and another weekend's upon us, maybe you kind of get that taste out of your mouth a little bit. But I'm scrolling through Twitter and Jackson Dart wins national quarterback of the week or whatever. I guess you go for 700 yards. I got to give you something. It was a tough weekend, and we kind of got a little bit of venting done yesterday. But I'm certain there's more to come today. We're going to talk a lot of Saints and a lot of LSU today. We'll have our normal two guests in their normal slots here on this Tuesday. We'll have Glenn West of Go 247 with us in 30 minutes. I'll chat with Glenn about what he saw in the game. And we'll talk with Sharif Ishak from WDSU coming up at 2:30 in his normal slot. Sharif will talk Saints with us. He was certainly there in the Dome on Sunday. And the Pels had their first media day yesterday, so we'll chat with Sharif about that as well. So busy day here on this Tuesday. I've got a few different things I want to touch on. In the next segment, I'm going to get to just some of the disturbing trends on LSU's defensive front that I'm certain Pete Jenkins is coming in to attempt to move forward. But we'll talk about that at 1:15. I do want to give a hat tip to a former Tiger at the end of this hour. I want to talk a little bit about what Brian Kelly had to say yesterday in his press conference and kind of my reaction to press conferences in general in this type of a spot. So I want to get to all of those things as well. We're about to get to Brandon Taylor, my partner in crime on the LSU Sports Radio Network. He hosts pregame and postgame with us and has for the last 6 years. And if you know BT at all, you watched him play at LSU or you've listened to him on pre- and postgame with us at any point over the last 6 years, you know how emotional he can be, and you know how much he cares about LSU football, specifically the defense, and even more specifically the defensive back group. And so for him to sit there on Saturday and watch LSU give up more yards than they ever have in the history of the program, it cuts deep for BT. So we're going to get Casey to give him a call right now, and we'll chat with our guy Brandon Taylor. He's at work, but he's going to give us 5 or 8 minutes here, just about what he's seen and what can be done to fix this. I mean, when we were talking after the game on Saturday, Brandon was like, man, when we gave up like 270 yards in a game passing, like we were furious. Like we couldn't believe we had done that. And the other side of this is not just the ineptitude on the defense that I want to get beat. There's one side of the football that's playing great and the other side that's not. And that can cause a little bit of a fracture. Now, BT's case, it was the other way around a lot of the time, where even like in 2010, 2009, like the defense would play great and the offense couldn't quite hold up its end of the bargain. And that is, it's a thing in a locker room. And Brandon has talked about it a bunch of times over the years as he's joined us on pre and post game. So I want to get BT's full thoughts here when we grab him and just kind of get a sense of what he thinks can be done, if anything. As of yesterday, I kind of said, like, you've really pushed all the buttons that you can push. It's just not a situation where there's a free agent acquisition or somebody coming back from suspension or an injury you've really kind of put your guys out there. So the question is, how does it get better, or can it get better? So we'll head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline right now, chat with our guy, Brandon Taylor. BT, how we doing 3 days after watching LSU on Saturday?
Still, that wound's still open, man. It's like people constantly pouring salt into it. So.
I know how that goes on the job site for you. You got a bunch of non-Tigers you're working with day in and day out. But let's just go back to what we watched on defense on Saturday. How can you put that into words?
The only way you can put it into words is that you've seen a group of guys that was on the field and they were defeated. Like, they couldn't get a stop, and it seems like every which way they was getting hit at, they wasn't succeeding, and that was from coaches on down. And you just got to get their confidence back, and right now they need that the most, because I mean, you're going into this week facing a top 10 passing team in the country, and it's going to be the same thing again if you don't fix it.
Tell me what you see from the secondary. I know that it's not as easy when you're watching on a TV copy and a lot of it's the actions outside the screen, but what are the issues with the secondary if you had to put your finger on it?
I see a bunch of guys that they're playing off coverage because I don't think the coach has enough confidence in them to play press man coverage the entire game. And with that it's harder to play off coverage because you can get hit with any type of route and you don't have any time to put your hands on the guys to try to reroute them or throw the timing off from a receiver to quarterback standpoint. And it just makes it a lot harder as a guy in the secondary. And if your D-line is getting pressure there, you're in coverage for a long time.
They certainly are, and it didn't go very well on Saturday. So if you're a coach on this staff and you're going into work this week, I know kind of how you're generally wired, and that's to kick somebody in the butt as opposed to pick them up. But is this a situation where you want to be a little bit more positive this week as opposed to ripping guys up and down?
I would take the more positive route because, I mean, the entire country is beating them down already. So they need somebody. I mean, the person that they're with every single day, you got to be the person to lift them up because, I mean, everybody's kicking them right now. And that's the easiest thing to do is to kick somebody when they're down and to jump on it.
My question, and this is something I was talking about right before we got you on the phone, I mean, you played on a couple of teams where the defense was lights out and the offense was struggling at times. This is the inverse of that, but speak to the frustration that one side of the ball can have while the other one's similarly not taking care of its business.
It can lead on a lot, and it can also lead over into the locker room, which you don't want as a team. But you just got to understand that you're there to do a job, and everybody has to do their job. And it takes some people sometimes a lot longer to get there, but they have to show progress in getting there. So from a defensive standpoint, you have to at least go get a turnover, show some type of effort because while you're on the field, the offense is watching you while you're on the field. And if you out there just lollygagging around and just not making plays or not showing effort, that shows your teammates the type of person you are, and you don't want them to see that. So that it can cause division in the locker room.
Chatting with Brandon Taylor, my partner in crime on the LSU Sports Radio Network, Tiger safety, SEC champion. So if you're Matt House, you can't tell this to the players, but obviously I think there's probably an understanding this defensive unit's not going to be some sort of elite unit in time. You are what you are. You can improve, but they're not going to be some kind of shutdown unit. But the good news is the offense is among the best in the country. They may be able to score you 40, 35 points most weeks. Would you play more aggressively to try to create a big play? And maybe if you give up a points, we might give them up anyway. Do you play more conservatively to try to make teams run more plays? Like, I don't know. I don't know what question exactly I'm trying to ask, but it's like, you're not going to be great. Which side should you kind of shade toward?
You have to play aggressive because football is the hardest thing to do in football is to get a turnover because the offense has to make a mistake in order for you to get a turnover. It was always saying that playing defensive back, tips and overthrows. That's where we get our interceptions at, tips and overthrows. So if you get pressure, you have a likely more chance. I mean 85 to 90% more chance to create turnover. Sitting back and playing conservative, you just ask them to get beat at that point. So you have to get after the quarterback and have to get at them to be aggressive. This is an aggressive game, so you have to play it aggressive.
All right, BT, we appreciate it, man. We'll let you get back to work. We'll see you soon.
All right, hon.
That's Brandon Taylor, former Tiger, all-conference player and an SEC champion, and a guy that loves watching his DBU play, and that was not fun for him on Saturday. And I don't profess to be a football coach. Certainly not. I've never coached a down. Coached a Powder Puff football game back in 2006. So I shouldn't say that. We got killed, by the way, so I don't think my track record is very good. But there's if you're having a candid conversation between Brian Kelly and Matt House about the defense, without any players involved or dragging the morale of the team, it's just a candid conversation. Look, I've seen our unit. I know what we've got, and the thought that we're going to turn into like a top 2 or 3 defense in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion, is not there. But our job is to win games. There's no rule that says you have to hold teams to 10 points. You have to hold them to 14 points to win. We have to hold them to fewer points than the offense scores. What's our best course of action to do that? And not necessarily to hold teams to the fewest amount of points possible, just how do we hold them under the amount of points that our offense scores? And I think there may be something to being a little bit more aggressive. Play press coverage. Bring more people. Try to be more disruptive. And guess what? If they hit you for a 65-yard touchdown, they're hitting you for a 65-yard touchdown anyway right now. I don't know. Maybe that's naive. Maybe that's too simple to think. Maybe that's not confident enough. Everybody's searching for answers after that. It's the worst performance in the history of the school. If you're not attempting to look outward and try to find some other solution, I think you're just sitting still and you're not going to be very good. So there's a lot of discussions that have to take place, and we'll find out if anything looks different on Saturday. But I do want to spend some time in our next segment talking about the defensive front. It's a group that has gone through a lot of adversity, and it's a group that has not played well. And I'll put some numbers to that. And then the question is, how much better can they be? We'll talk about that next in the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center right here in Southeast Louisiana. This collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and the only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards, treatment plans, specialists, researchers, their groundbreaking research, innovative therapies, clinical trials, all of that is available at Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. That expert care is going to be offered in 7 different locations throughout New Orleans, St. Tammany, Baton Rouge. Some additional sites are being worked towards right now. We've all been affected by cancer one way or another, and Ochsner and MD Anderson have partnered together to continue that fight. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, I invite you to head over to ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Some historical perspective on Jaden Daniels. Sean Salisbury will join us, and film review with Matty Hudak. It's AFR 36, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's really about, getting the right players on the field playing their very best football. We've got to be able to maximize the potential of our defensive line. And, we're in conversation about, are we doing that? We're big. We're big up front. We have to play physical. We have to play with low pads. We have to create a new line of scrimmage. So I'm not trying to avoid your question as much as I'm trying to tell you that we have to create, the right scheme so our guys can be the best versions of themselves.
It's Brian Kelly talking about his defensive line that, quite frankly, has not played very well to this point. I don't think that's breaking news to any of you listening. I do want to just point out some facts about this LSU defensive line. Number one, Jamar Cain was their defensive line coach. Right before spring football is to begin in March, Jamar Cain leaves to join Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. So you lose your position coach for spring football. Is spring football the most important thing in the world? Probably not. Mason Smith missed a lot of it because he was hurt. Mekhi Wingo's a 2-year all-SEC type performer. Is it the biggest thing in the world? No. You still got the same defense, but you didn't have your position coach there for that. Then Jimmy Lindsey is hired in May. The defensive line goes through their offseason conditioning, gets ready for camp, and then right at the beginning of August, Jimmy Lindsey has an emergency medical situation and steps away from the team. So you didn't have your position coach in spring football, and now you don't have your position coach in fall camp or into the season. And John Jancic steps in, but that was not what he was brought here to do. And are those two happenings exactly the reason why LSU's defensive line is not playing great? I wouldn't put it all on that. Would I say that that's not exactly ideal? I would say that's not exactly ideal. But when we were entering this season talking about LSU's defense, we would say, okay, this is a group on the defensive front that's got Mekhi Wingo coming back after getting some All-American honors. It's got Mason Smith, who's on some draft boards, was a 5-star recruit, had 4 sacks as a freshman, and really looked to come into his own as a dominant player. And Brian Kelly's told us that he changes the math up front, and you've got to deal with him. And those two guys in the front, man, that's solid. Jordan Jefferson was a starter at West Virginia, played a lot of football. Jacoby and Guillory had a really strong camp. That's some more depth you can add to your defensive line. And then on the edges, you bring in a couple of guys who have a lot of experience. In Ovie Ogofu, Braden Swenson, you've got Savion Jones coming in. Harold Perkins is probably going to play down there a little bit. This is a group that really should be an excellent unit. You should be strong up front. Okay, well, let's look at the data. Now, again, I understand that statistics can be misleading at times. They can be affirming of opinions at times. You can twist numbers one way or another. So I understand that defensive linemen's entire jobs are not racking up tackles. There are certainly fitting gaps, taking on double teams, pushing the pocket, blowing some things up, doing things that may not count in the stat sheet. I know that, and that this exercise is not going to account for that. However, we are just going to lay out the raw data and just tell you what we've seen. Mekhi Wingo at Mississippi State had 3 tackles, 1 TFL, and a sack. Against Arkansas, he had 4 tackles, half a tackle for loss, half a sack. And against Ole Miss, he made 3 tackles, none of them behind the scrimmage, no sacks. So in the last 2 games against Arkansas and Ole Miss, half a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Now, I think Mekhi Wingo is a really good player, and it's very likely, without looking at every single snap, that offensive lines are paying a lot of attention to him because he's the most disruptive force up there. Certainly the most proven defensive force. But in the last 2 games, that's a lot of snaps that Arkansas and Ole Miss have run. He's made 1 play behind the line of scrimmage, statistically. Mason Smith. He has not made more than 2 tackles in any of the games this year. None. He has a total of 1.5 tackles for loss, and one of those is against Grambling. So in the FBS games he's played, he's got half a tackle for loss and no sacks. There's just no production there. Jordan Jefferson. He's played 5 games. He has 2 total solo tackles. Again, not the entire job of a nose tackle to make solo tackles, but he's got 2. 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack. The consensus of those who have watched a lot of tape is that Jordan Jefferson has been LSU's probably best interior defender, but it ain't like he's making a lot of plays in the backfield statistically. Savion Jones, that's a guy that I pointed to. I said, look, this has got to be the next guy. Arden Key to Calevon Chason to B.J. Ojolari to Savion Jones. The highly thought of, long-levered, athletic edge rusher who fills out and becomes a monster on the edge. That needed to happen for this LSU team to be as good as it could be. Because you brought in a couple of transfers in Agofu and Swinson, who are veterans, and they're big, but they don't have a lot of pass rushing acumen over the last 4 years in college. Jones could be the guy. He's made 1 tackle behind the line of scrimmage in 4 FBS games. 1. It was the sack against Mississippi State early in the game. That's the only time he has made a tackle behind the line of scrimmage in 4 FBS football games. There's just no production. LSU's 85th in the country in sacks. 77th in tackles for loss. And again, I'll go back and say it like, I know that there are things that are just as important in defensive line play than tackles for loss. Sometimes you just get double teamed and mauled so your linebacker can shoot the gap and he gets a tackle for loss that forces a fumble. And you've done a great job and there's not a statistic there to show for it. But the fact of the matter is that LSU isn't getting any stops, so I'm not going to err on the side of, oh, well, maybe they're doing some other stuff that's really good. The fact is that the defensive line that should be a strength on this team is not creating any sort of impact whatsoever. No pressure on Jordan Travis, and when you did get back there, couldn't get him on the ground. Couldn't get KJ Jefferson on the ground. No pressure on Jackson Dart. Can't stop the run. Holes you could drive a truck through. So can it get any better? I've told you for the last couple of weeks, like this DBU lineage that we're so used to, and I've rattled off all the names. I've gone through Webster, gone through Daniels and LaRon Landry, gone through Patrick Peterson and Morris Claiborne and Tyrann Mathieu and Thorold Simon, Eric Reed. Gone through Jamal Adams and Tre'Davious White and Jalen Mills, Christian Fulton, Grant Delpit, Derek Stingley. Like, we've done the whole deal. And I've said, I just don't see that guy in the secondary. Well, does that hold true to the defensive front as well? Mekhi Wingo's a heck of a player. Is he Michael Brockers? He's not Glenn Dorsey, but that's an unreachable star. Not Chad Lavallee or Kyle Williams. It looked like it on paper, like Mason Smith could be a first-round pick, and Savion Jones might blossom into the next guy, the next B.J. Ojolari, who's starting on Monday Night Football last night. Harold Perkins off the edge is a potential All-American type guy. And then you have hope for Deshaun Womack and Quincy Wiggins and some of the guys who are really highly thought of recruits. And right now I look at it and I go, well, I mean, it just, what's the deal? I'm not an NFL scout. I can't tell you how things grade. LSU is big, and a lot of these guys were highly recruited. And there's just not any production here. There's just not. Teams are running it. Teams are throwing it. You're not getting pressure. You're not getting sacks. You're not putting teams behind the chains. There's just nothing statistically or on tape that would suggest it. So the question is, can Pete Jenkins fix it? He can't hurt. Pete Jenkins can't hurt. If you're asking me candidly, can he fix it? I would suggest he can't fix it. He can't take a defensive front that's done nothing through 3 weeks and make it into a steel wall. But that comes back to the point of, like, how good do they need to be? They need to be good enough to get some stops, force a turnover or two, force a field goal in the red zone, and let the offense go to work on the other side. Right now, it feels a long way away, but we'll see on Saturday morning. You can play a little bit better, come back and play an Auburn offense that's not very good, deal with Army and go to a bye week. That's a lot of time to continue to work at it. I'm hopeful, but I have some significant doubt. It's just really disappointing to kind of revisit the headspace you were in August about where this unit could be and should be and realize a month and a half in, there's just not much to show for it. It's surprising to me, honestly. I'm not stunned that the secondary's struggling. I'm a little stunned that the defensive fronts know better than this. Glenn West will have his thoughts on it. We'll chat with him coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Love telling you about our friends at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years, installing and monitoring Generac generators. They're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. I'll tell you this. If you find a Generac generator for less expensive than you would at Boudreaux's Electric, they'll match that price. I don't think it's going to happen, but if that would happen, they would match it. Every single Generac generator that Boudreaux's Electric sells you comes with a free 10-year warranty. Protect yourself against power outages. We're on the tail end of storm season here. It's been a good one thus far, but we know how things go around here. This doesn't mean you just need to get a generator installed coming up in August. Make it happen right now. They'll customize one to your home and to your needs, and they'll monitor it for you. So if there's ever any sort of malfunction, they'll be able to come out and service it. Call them at the same number that you have called them at for 40 years, 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. Give them a call. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at Relief Windows.
For a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench, as we preview LSU versus Missouri, Saints versus Patriots, and the rest of the upcoming football weekend. And Matt Flynn joins the show for a full hour of flestering. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on this Tuesday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Out of the Jim's Firearms Hotline, as we do each and every Tuesday at 1:30. Chat with our guy Glenn West of Go247. He's a senior right over there covering the Tigers. Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Hunt. How are you?
I'm all right. How was watching that on Saturday?
Well, I was thinking, man, do you play corner? You play corner, and I'll play defensive tackle or defensive end. Or what's the,
I think I played some corner for the college flag football team. I'm just grossly slow. I'm not a very physical presence. I don't have good ball skills or quickness. I can put shoulder pads on and stand there. I'm just not sure I'm capable of doing much on the back pedal.
Gotcha. Well, no comment on that, I guess. What's up? What's going on with you?
I'm just trying to unpack this whole deal. How much of this is fixable on defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'm not even sure that the coaching staff really has a good answer for right now. I mean, it seems pretty consistent theme, ever since that game ended on Saturday has been, just about the youth and the inexperience in that secondary. And, I mean, you got Major Burns back there. He's a 4th, 5th-year guy. You got Andre Sam. He's a 7th-year guy. Sage Ryan's been around for 3 years. Look, they've got some serious issues here. I think it's a combination of scheme, and personnel, and right now it's talent. I mean, like you're not really deep back there. Those guys are struggling mightily in the secondary, and certainly with what the defensive line showed you this last weekend, there's also some holes up front as well. So, they're playing a lot of veterans. They're playing a lot of guys who have played a lot of football, and they're just not getting it done right now. I know that last weekend was the first time we really got to see some significant snaps out of Terrence Welch and Ashton Stamps. I mean, those guys are going to need some run. Those guys are going to need some time to put it together. But you listen to what Coach Kelly said on Monday, he doesn't have much time. So I think they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, and it's really a shame because it's kind of overshadowing what's been a pretty historic start for this offense as well. I mean, they've been right up there with in terms of stats with the best of them in the country, and it's been moot because you sit here with 2 losses now, and this last one obviously was just completely on the defense.
We'll get to the offense because I certainly want to talk about that as well. But let's go to the defensive front. It's a group that I just talked about for 10 minutes on the show. What has been the most surprising thing to you about this front, that they have not been able to stop the run very well, or that there just doesn't seem to be a lot of pressure on the passer?
Yeah, I would probably say the second. There hasn't been a whole lot of pressure on the pass rush in the last couple weeks. I mean, they've been getting. I mean, they got to KJ Jefferson. They just weren't finishing plays. Okay, that's the excuse for last week. But then against Ole Miss, they weren't even getting into the backfield hardly at all. I mean, it was a real struggle for those guys, just creating any kind of momentum and getting into the backfield, getting any kind of push. Look, everybody's big conversation point has been Mason Smith and just kind of what you do with him. I think you still got to trot him out there and hope that he gets it together. I mean, look, there's been a lot of issues up front, not just Mason Smith, but they've got a lot of stuff they got to sift through. I mean, I think Pete Jenkins coming in here, we'll see what kind of voice, what kind of impact he can make technique-wise. Just listening to Coach Kelly yesterday, it sounded like they think he's going to be a great asset for just getting the technique side of things down, maybe getting these guys closer to the line of scrimmage. I know that was also a big point here that Coach Kelly made, is that they really want to redefine themselves on the line of scrimmage. And, I personally would love to see Deshaun Womack. Don't know why we didn't see him much at all on Saturday. I think you need to breathe some life into this pass rush. And, I know it was in a limited snap count against Arkansas, but he showed you that he can get back there and that he can wreak some havoc. So would love to see him kind of get some more opportunity. And I'd also like to see maybe LSU shift back to that 4-man front that they were running earlier in the year, because this 3-3-5 that they ran out on Saturday really had a lot of holes that they just weren't able to plug for most of the game.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go247, joins us every Tuesday. Let's talk about the offense. They were incredible again on Saturday. What's Jaden Daniels' biggest improvement been?
I think confidence in his ability to throw the ball downfield. I mean, I know that's a probably cop-out answer, because that's the one thing we were hoping to see from him this year. But I think really since the start of SEC play, he has turned that up and dialed it up to being one of the more deep threat quarterbacks, I think, in the entire SEC. I mean, he's absolutely dropping just dimes into these receivers' hands. That one to Kyron Lacey, I mean, I've watched that probably 20 or 30 times. It was just a beautiful, beautiful throw. And he's done that several times over the last couple of weeks, to Brian Thomas, to Malik Neighbors, certainly to Lacey. But yeah, I would say just his ability to throw the ball deep has really been a big boost for this offense. It's been really been the thing that's unlocked this offense and showed that it can be one of the best ones in the country. They put together consistent scoring drives. I think the fact that they've gotten Logan Diggs involved in the run game as well as they have these last 3 weeks has really opened up some things offensively as well. You'd still like to see a couple more guys kind of show out. I mean, I know it's been pretty much the Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas show, but I thought it was a really positive game for Mason Taylor this last weekend. 5 catches for 60 yards. Having another consistent threat alongside Thomas and Neighbors is only going to make this thing even better than it already is. And I think Taylor's the guy that I'm looking at as pretty much a breakout candidate, I guess, for the second half of the season.
How much of the run game picking up has been Diggs, and how much of it's been the offensive line playing better?
It's been a mix. I mean, I think Diggs does so many good things from a running perspective. He's got great vision. He can break tackles. He's elusive. I think he's probably your most consistent threat inside and on the perimeter as well as a runner. But look, I think the offensive line, you can't take anything away from them. They've done a nice job of creating some push these last couple of weeks and really opening up some holes for Logan Diggs. He's taken advantage of them. And I think the fact that he's getting 19 carries, that tells you all you really need to know about kind of where the run game is right now. It's pretty much going to be his show, I think, going forward. You'll mix in John Emery every once in a while. Maybe Caleb Jackson gets a couple snaps here in the second half, like you saw against Ole Miss. But Josh Williams, I'm sure, will be worked in as a complementary piece. But this is really the Logan Diggs show, I think, going forward for the running back room, and I think it's a real positive that LSU found that in their offense.
Let's move to Saturday. It appears on my Twitter machine that you've been watching some Luther Burden video. How's that going?
Oh man, that dude is electric. I mean, he is. I said it on Twitter. He looks like the Tyreek Hill of college football, just the way that they move him around pre-snap. I mean, they've used him a lot in the slot this year, but they've also brought him into the backfield and motioned him out for screens and stuff. I mean, he's going to be a nightmare matchup, I think, for LSU. They're really going to have to probably double team him, have a spy on him as well. I mean, he's that kind of electric threat here. And Cook, the quarterback, has really leaned into it. It really looks like they devised a lot of their offense around Luther Burden and his ability to make explosive plays. LSU's going to have to tackle. I mean, they can't miss 34 tackles like they did last weekend and expect this is going to be a good performance for them. So you got to hope that they at least try to shore up the tackling a little bit, try to kind of limit burden damage as much as possible. But it's going to be another battle for the secondary and certainly for this defense as well, because they have a really, really explosive piece, probably the most explosive weapon they face, short of Keon Coleman maybe earlier this year that they faced this year.
So there's probably going to be a segment of the fan base that says this defense stinks, fire the defensive coordinator, the program's in big trouble, they can't recruit, this is a disaster. And there's probably a segment of the fan base that says, hey, they were right in the same spot last year. Tennessee dusted them at home, and they got better. They figured some things out. They beat Bama, and they won the West. Where are you leaning on that situation here? I realize you're not going to say fire the head coach, but do you think they can right the ship here defensively and ride this offense to a successful season?
I think so. I'm going to preface this by saying that nothing that we've seen over the last couple of weeks can give you any confidence in that statement. But I think that they have good people in that defensive staff that are working hard to try to get this thing fixed. I really do think it comes down to just trying to figure out which personnel to get out onto the field. I mean, I think the talent evaluation maybe in the off season was a little bit miscalculated from a secondary perspective in terms of the transfers they brought in and some of the guys they're really leaning on right now. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough. I don't know that they can fix it completely, but if you can even just get this defense to be average, just slightly above what they've been so far, this offense is going to win you a lot of games. And I think if they can get this defense at least on a more positive track than what it's been the last couple weeks, LSU's going to have a chance to win most of the rest of their games. But it's going to be a challenge for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if there are changes made at the end of the year. But right now it seems like Brian Kelly and a lot of these coaches are hard at work, and there seems to be really no thought of any of that kind of stuff right now.
Am I going to see you at the box on Thursday night?
I'll be there, yes, on Thursday, yes. So we got media tomorrow with Coach Johnson and a couple players, and then we got some fall baseball on Thursday. It'll be a nice little distraction, I guess, before getting back to football on Saturday.
Got Jay Johnson coming on this show tomorrow as well, so fired up about that and fired up about watching a little baseball on Thursday night. So, Glenn, we appreciate it. We'll see you out there.
All right, Hunt, thank you.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go247, with us each and every Tuesday. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll hat tip a former Tiger here to close out hour number one. That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fired up to welcome a new sponsor to The Hunt Palmer Show. That is Jersey Mike's. I stopped by Jersey Mike's for lunch today. I love Jersey Mike's. It's awesome. Especially want to shout out our folks over at the Highway 30 location in Gonzales, near the New Heritage Shopping Center. Stop on in there for a late lunch. Grab one of their fantastic sandwiches. Best seller. I was asking some people in our sales floor. Everyone loves the cold subs over at Jersey Mike's, and the original Italian, probably their best seller. Got that provolone ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni. They've got their famous cheesesteaks as well. Today for lunch, I had the bacon ranch chicken cheesesteak. It is fantastic. You order it, they cook it up right there on the grill right in front of you. Plus, Jersey Mike's is great for catering orders as well. They've got catering boxes with 12 subs individually wrapped. They can do boxed individual lunches, which is great to feed your office. Don't forget to add a cookie or a brownie platter as well. Download the Jersey Mike's app or stop by our friends over there at Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales, near the New Heritage Shopping Center. If you're heading out to a high school football game on Friday night, great to get a bulk order over there at Jersey Mike's. We love them at Jersey Mike's.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Paul.
Sandgriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Professional handicapper Randy McKay is with us, and Wes Reynolds as well. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Huge congrats to Taylor Bro. Taylor is our Week 5 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. Wins a Twin Peaks. I always say Twins Peaks. Wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 6 by noon on Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. Mentioned just then with Glenn West, LSU baseball cranks up fall practice on Thursday night, 7 o'clock. If you want to go watch them practice and scrimmage, gates open at 6:45, and you can watch them at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. Tomorrow we'll have Jay Johnson, head coach, on the show at 1:30, I believe. So excited to have Coach Johnson on. We'll chat with him about the team entering fall practice. But I wanted to give a hat tip to a former Tiger baseballer. I think when I talk about former LSU guys in the big leagues right now, I think you immediately think of Bregman here in Houston that's had such a great run. I think you think of Aaron, who was kind of with Alex and has had a great run there in Philly and been really good. DJ LeMahieu's won batting titles and has had a phenomenal, long professional career. I think those are probably the guys you think of first when I talk about pros. But fairly quietly, at least in my opinion, as a guy who watches a lot of Major League Baseball, Kevin Gausman has carved out a phenomenal career. And it didn't really start all that great. I mean, Baltimore made him a really high pick, and he spent his first 7 seasons in Baltimore and was a pretty average pitcher. Wins and losses certainly don't tell the whole story at all, but in his time in Baltimore, he never had a winning season in terms of decisions. He was just a very, very average league pitcher. And he went to Atlanta, and then he was briefly in Cincinnati for the end of a season, and he found a spot in San Francisco and had a nice go of it in the COVID year. And discovered this split-fingered pitch that has really revolutionized his career and made him one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. Would it surprise you if I told you that over the last 3 seasons, Kevin Gausman in 2021 led the major leagues in starts made? He was an all-star that year and started 33 games. Then last season, led Major League Baseball in fielding independent pitching, which is an advanced metric that basically rewards you for good pitching. Even it takes out how good your defense is around you. And then this year, he led Major League Baseball in strikeouts per 9 innings and total strikeouts. He struck out 237 hitters this year for the Blue Jays, most in the big leagues, in 185 innings pitched. He, over the past 3 seasons, has won 38 games in 3 seasons, which, again, is a stat that some people in the game are not going to look at because it cannot tell the entire story. But when you take the ball that often and you strike that many guys out and you're helping your team win games, I think it's worth noting. So, I mean, this is a guy who's been in big league baseball for 11 years now, which is a remarkable run. When I look at some of the guys that have been LSU players that have gone up to the big leagues and have scrapped and fought so hard to try to make it up, and then you juxtapose that with guys like LeMahieu and Gausman that have been in the league for 11, 12, 13 years. Like, that's just amazing. And I just don't know that he gets the due that he deserves. So today, the Major League Baseball playoffs crank up. It breaks my heart to look up there and see it because I thought as of 2 weeks ago that I'd be watching the Cubs in the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. But I'm not. But Kevin Gausman's going to get the start for Toronto in Game 1 of their playoff series today, and that's a huge honor. And I just wanted to take 5 minutes here on this Tuesday and just hat tip to a guy who was excellent at LSU. I still think about the Stony Brook game because that's the last game he pitched at LSU, and I have a little bit more focused memory than most. I think a lot of those regionals and supers kind of blend together for a lot of people. I was covering the Stony Brook game, so I'm sitting there and I'm writing stories. But if you'll remember, the Stony Brook series was so rainy. The rain continued and continued, and that's why we had all those delays, and we had a game that started on Friday, and they came back and finished on Saturday, and the rain was just ridiculous that entire weekend. And you know that in Game 1, finally, after the ridiculous home runs to tie it in the 9th, 10th, and 11th, that LSU got a run in the 12th, and then Gausman came in and closed Game 1, and they brought him out to start Game 2. And it just started raining. And very, very obviously, Gausman could not throw a breaking ball in the rain. I asked him about it on the air years later, and he confirmed, he could not throw a breaking ball. So he settled to throw the fastball, which was really good. He was throwing 95 miles an hour, which at that time was really, really hard. It's crazy that 11 years ago is thought of as that's what everybody throws, 95. Okay, that's fine. It wasn't the case then. He was one of the hardest throwers in terms of starting pitchers in the country, and he couldn't throw a breaking ball, and Stony Brook was able to sit on the fastball, and they hit a ball out of the yard and knocked him around a little bit, knocked him out of the game. And, of course, we know went on to win that Super Regional. I think I have reason to believe, if there is no rain that day, that Gausman can hold that Stony Brook lineup long enough for LSU to break through and win Game 2. I could be wrong. We'll never know. But I feel like that. And, unfortunately, he never got a chance to go up there and pitch in Omaha, which bums me out. But a great Tiger, a guy who still spends some time in Baton Rouge, and now a 2-time All-Star, and a guy who's going to start Game 1 of a playoff series for his team after leading Major League Baseball in strikeouts this year. I think that's really cool for Kevin Gausman. So pulling for him and the Blue Jays today as they get started on their postseason journey. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you're looking for something to do tonight, sports trivia at Pluckers each and every Tuesday. A lot of fun out at the Nicholson location. Come on out, get some cold beers, eat some delicious wings, answer some sports trivia questions, win gift cards, watch some baseball on TV. Always a great time out there at Plucker. So come on out and see us tonight, 8:30. We'll have you done by 10 o'clock. Brandon Taylor with us in the first hour. Glenn Weth with us in the first hour. You can hear those 2 interviews on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Our LSU YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. Always has your LSU football information, and it's easy to digest. Beck cuts it up in a little 8-10 minute segments, and we put those up daily on the YouTube channel. So subscribe to Hunt on LSU. When we come back in hour number 2, Sharif Ishak's going to be with us talking about the Saints, maybe a little Pels as they started media day yesterday. When we come back, Brian Kelly had a few things to say in his press conference. Some people aren't real thrilled about all that. I'll kind of give my thoughts on the press conference situation and a couple of other things when we come back after SportsCenter. Come back with us on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. We are 8 minutes away from first pitch of baseball's postseason on ESPN Radio. Rangers and Rays, opening day of the 4 wildcard series does continue with the Blue Jays and Twins in an hour. Brewers Diamondbacks 6:30 Eastern. This is the third straight postseason. Milwaukee's missing a key pitcher. This time, Brandon Woodruff out with a shoulder injury. ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney.
It's a body blow, and no team has had better pitching than the Brewers over the last 6 weeks. And Brandon Woodruff has been a big part of that. So, to lose him, it hurts their rotation, but they do have Corbin Burns. They do have Peralta, 2 guys with dominant stuff. They have an absolute lockdown bullpen.
Buster on Unsportsmanlike. Final game of this day, Marlins-Phillies at 7:30 Eastern. Terry Francona says he is stepping away from baseball, ending a 23-year managerial career. He's dealt with serious health issues in recent years. NBA, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports James Harden expected to arrive in Colorado as soon as today to join 76ers training camp. He did sit out media day yesterday, continuing to push for a trade to the Clippers.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Tuesday, the MLB playoffs are here, and I'm going to tell you all the storylines you should be paying attention to. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2. Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Sharif Ishak on the black and gold in 30 minutes. Passion in sports is why we all love it. It's if you just won a game and everybody walked off the field and it was silent and everybody left, like that would suck. We love this because there's energy involved. There's passion involved. And sometimes logic gets thrown by the wayside because there's just so much exuberance or disgust, and it's why we love sports, because it stirs something up in you. If that didn't exist, I wouldn't have this job. So passion is a really, really good thing. I love when players play with passion. I like when full stadiums exude that passion. It's a very, very good thing. But there's a downside to it. And it's when things aren't going so well. And it's just not, it becomes toxic, right? It's just part of it. It's that way in LSU. It's that way at Alabama. It's that way with the Atlanta Braves. It's that way with the New York Giants. It's that way with Real Madrid. I can't speak much to soccer, but you understand the point I'm getting at. And so I'm not here to tell you like what's right and what's wrong and how to feel. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about some of the things that happen when things go wrong. You can say, Hunt, that's on the money. You're spot on. Perfect assessment. You can say, Hunt, you're an idiot. Shut up. Either way, just feel the way you want to feel. I'm just going to lay out my side of things here. One thing that happens a lot when things aren't going very well, and trust me, I pay attention to a lot of message boards, a lot of podcasts, different media members, Twitter feeds all over the place. This happens everywhere. Is there's a disdain for the way questions are answered in press conferences. Post-game press conferences, Monday press conferences, teleconferences, the fan base is just totally unhappy with the way the press conference goes. Either the media is tossing softballs and carrying the water for the team, or these answers are totally unsatisfactory. It's a thought about the press conferences. Here's how I feel about press conferences. I've sat in hundreds of them. Press conferences can't solve anything. Oftentimes, press conferences just contain outright lies about injuries, about the ability of other teams, about the ability of players. Like, I know for a fact, based on discussions that happened 4 years ago when LSU was about to play Oklahoma, LSU's coaching staff knew they were going to beat Oklahoma by 1,000 points. They knew that Oklahoma had no chance to go out there and stop them. Do you know what was said in press conferences leading up to that game? We're playing a heck of a ball team. Oklahoma's well coached. They've won a ton of games. It's an honor to take the field with it. I mean, it's that, and none of them felt that way. This is going to be a bloodbath. I told you a million times about Les Miles out and out lying about injuries. None of that has to do with losing a game. And I'm just telling you, those are just out and out lies. And oftentimes in a press conference, guys are coached on what to say and how to answer questions. And you as the fan, I don't think, really care about press conference answers as long as your team's winning. You never have a 35-point win, and then, but in that 35-point win, your left guard really struggled. And the coach asks, yeah, we're playing great on the offensive line. Everything's awesome. And you go, well, that's not true. The left guard's terrible. I only sense this reaction when a loss happens. Hold the coach accountable for losing games. Hold the coach accountable for the direction of the program, not for an unsatisfactory answer. Do you want the coach to come up there after a loss? Since everyone knows we're in a situation in football where things didn't go well on Saturday, but let's just flip it to baseball so we're not talking about actual specifics with this current team. Let's just flip it to baseball. Say you had your starting pitcher went out there and issued 6 walks, hit 2 guys, and 5 of them came around to score. Do you want your coach to come up there and go, yeah, the pitching coach doesn't know how to really teach mechanics, and this guy choked. He got out there and he choked. I told him on Thursday that he was going to do great, and that was a lie. He was awful, and we got to get better. We probably can't put him out there. Like, do you want to go that far? I mean, certainly in a situation where you pinch hit for a guy, and the next guy comes up and he's hitting 0-50 against right-handers and he strikes out, I guess you could get the coach to say, yeah, with that one, I'd like to go a different direction. But at that point, you're telling the kid that you don't trust him to get the job done. Like, the point being in these hypotheticals is like, you don't need to diminish kids' performance in the press conference. You can't fix anything. But in my opinion, this is, again, my opinion, I don't think you owe the fans an answer in the press conference. You owe a better performance the next time out. Go to practice and fix it. So all this upheaval about the press conferences, I just don't get. Because press conferences, and even though we work in the soundbite business and we talk about them every week, and we're going to do it in the next segment, oftentimes answers are hollow. Because they're not going to divulge game plan stuff. They're not going to disparage kids. They're not going to talk about how bad the other team is at this or that. All that stuff is telling half-truths or just out-and-out lies. That's the nature of a lot of press conferences. So that's how I feel about that. The other thing that comes up is coaches' salaries. And this is what I have to say about that angle when fans take it. Well, you're paying this coach such and such. He should produce this. I hear it all the time. You hear it in College Station. You've heard it here in Baton Rouge this week. You hear it all over the place. Here's how I feel about that. The coach's salary only comes up when teams lose. I don't necessarily hear a lot of fans clamoring for an 8% raise for the offensive coordinator when you score 60 points in a game. I don't see a team whose over-under in Vegas is 8 that wins 10, and the fan base goes, you really got to slide that head coach's salary up 21%. Like, they need to adjust the salary for the performance. We're not paying him enough. I don't hear it on that side. You only hear it when, well, we're paying $100 million. This is what we should get. And here's my thought on it. The expectation at LSU for the football coach is the same. It's the same if it's Les Miles. It's the same if it's Ed Ogeron. It's the same if it's Brian Kelly. It's the same if Les is making 7. It's the same if Brian Kelly's making 10. The expectation is you put an excellent product on the field. You have an opportunity every year to win your division at this point, moving forward, the Southeastern Conference, compete for a playoff and compete for championships, and every once in a while you need to win one. That would not change if Brian Kelly left for the 49ers next year and you brought in a coach and you paid him $4 million a year. You would not, in my opinion, as a fan, say, well, we're only paying him $4 million. Just make sure you win 9 games and don't lose to Mississippi State. The expectation has nothing to do with the dollars. The expectation is because of the program and the resources and the fan base and the recent tradition. That's where the expectation comes from. If Jay Johnson left for the Yankees, that ain't happening. The guy loves college baseball. But if he left for the Yankees and you hired the next coach and you got him for $600,000 and he lost in the regional and the next year came back and won the regional but got swept in the supers and they didn't score, you wouldn't go, oh, well, they're only paying him $400,000. It's fine. They were paying Paul more than that. That has nothing to do with it. The only time money enters the discussion, in my opinion, is if you've put yourself in a position where the program is unsalvageable and you can't change it because there's too much money at stake. That's when I'm okay to talk about money. Not after you lose a football game 55-48 or whatever it was, and then you come back and say, well, he's $100 million. You got to do better than that. Not to me. The expectation is the expectation, no matter what money is involved. This is the same talking point I had when LSU hired Brian Kelly and Florida hired Billy Napier. And we got to decide which one's better. You got to look over the next 5 years and see who got the better coach. No, I don't care what Florida does. The expectation doesn't change in Baton Rouge based on what happens in Gainesville. If Billy Napier wins 3 national championships in the next 3 years and Brian Kelly wins 1, I'm not going to look at this over the next 3 years and go, well, this was a disaster. They won 3 and we only got 1. I would go, God, that's awesome. We got a national championship. By the same token, if Billy Napier wins 5 games a year for the next 3 games and Brian Kelly wins 8, 6, and 8 and none of that's any good, I wouldn't go, well, thank God we were better than Florida. I don't care what Florida does. It's all what LSU does. These are just 2 talking points that I just don't have. I have strong opinions of my own on them. I don't care what a coach says in a press conference. Just go fix it and win. I don't get mad when Paul Mainieri says we got to catch that ball at first base. I don't get mad when Les Miles just out and out lies and says everything's awesome. I don't care what you say at the press conference. Go win. And it's not my money, so I don't care how much we pay a coach. At LSU, whether you're making $10 million a year, $4 million a year, or $16 million a year, you have the same goals. It is not an investment in a sliding scale. The only time, in my opinion, money comes into play here is if you put yourself in a position that you have to make a change and you can't do it because of money. And LSU is nowhere near that. Not even close. Not even close. So again, going back to the base of the conversation, passion is awesome in sports. And people that have opinions that are like mine and that aren't like mine have passion. And that's what makes this place awesome and makes sports awesome as a whole. You can think about it whichever way you want. That's how I'm going to approach it. They need to fix the defense. I don't care how much the coordinator makes. Do a better job on Saturday. If you win, say whatever you want. You lose, say whatever you want in the press conference. Fix it. And that's LSU's chore right now, is to get the defense fixed. Sharif Ishak's going to talk about a team that needs to get its offense fixed in 15 minutes. We'll come back with some more LSU talk on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well.
In this Sunday as we bring you 3 different NFL games. We'll start at the noon kickoff. That's the Carolina Panthers against the Detroit Lions. Immediately following that, we'll bring you Eagles Rams, and then the nightcap, the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. So tune in on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Shout out to Sharif Ashak coming up in 12 minutes. Saints got a lot to fix this week on the offensive side. We'll get Sharif's thoughts on that. But after I just told you that you don't need to worry about what coaches say in press conferences most of the time, I'm going to play some sound from yesterday's press conference, of course, because I do think there is a little bit of substance to what Brian Kelly has to say here. And to be fair, I do think Brian Kelly is fairly candid with the media most of the time. Sometimes in season, things can change because of the reasons that I laid out in that last segment. But I think that there are times where he is fairly candid. And one of the things that I thought he was fairly candid with yesterday was talking about the team's inability to tackle on Saturday.
What is tackling? Tackling can be taught, and something that we teach every single day. And so, when we talk about it, how much time do we spend on it? So we have to examine and look at our practice schedule. Are we spending enough time? Well, traditionally, it would say that that's what we normally spend. With this group, maybe we have to spend more time. So those are the kind of discussions that we're having, is that, we recognize the importance of tackling, how important it is, and how it impacted this game. I think it was, over 285 yards after misses that led to their offense, and tackling was at the center of it. So, we have to be able to look at, are we spending enough time given the circumstances? And those would be the adjustments we would make.
And I thought another answer that he gave on tackling, and that's just talking about some of the adjustments they can be making tackling better and spending more time on tackling than they usually do, which you don't do a lot of in the season, but they may have to with this group, and that's something that they're going to talk about, and I think that was a candid answer. But he also gave an actual objective number of missed tackles they charted from Saturday, which was 34, for north of 250 yards. So they had actual data to suggest how many yards they gave up after what they deemed an egregious missed tackle. And to me, that's as satisfactory an answer as you can get. Is like, we looked at it, we know exactly where that issue is, who missed them, where they missed them, why they missed them, and how bad it hurt us. I go back, and no one at all will remember this, but 2 years ago, LSU played Louisiana Tech in a game. And it was Jay's first year, and it was a back-and-forth offensive game, and there was a spot where Jay decided to bunt, and I didn't love it. And he came into the post game after, and he said, well, here's the deal. This is their pitcher. He throws this percentage of the time. Left-handers hit this off of him. If we bunt there, they're probably going to walk this guy. Then we've got a left-hander up that we don't want to bring out of the game. And I don't remember, but he walked through every single answer of why he did what he did. And I was like, okay, well, that makes me feel a lot better. I actually appreciate that reasoning. And right there, I can't fault him too much for that answer. I thought that there was some substance behind, we gotta tackle better, and here's what it cost us, and this is what we're going to look at. He was also asked about the defensive personnel, the scheme, and how to balance those two together.
That point is exactly what we're spending time on. I think we've come up with some valid kind of solutions to where we want to go moving forward. Look, we missed a lot of tackles that gave up a lot of yards after the misses. We've got to be better in the fundamentals, and our guys know that. We've got to get the ball on the ground. We've got to create a new line of scrimmage, and that will be job one and job two as we move forward on Tuesday.
The other piece why we played that clip is because of that phrase that he used toward the end there. We got to create a new line of scrimmage. That's a quote that he gave multiple times yesterday. And to me, that sounds like a talking point that he's probably brought into that room. And T-Bob has been very harsh on the alignment of the defensive line the last 2 days, talking about how they're a yard and a half off the football. And if you look at most teams, they're closer to inside half a yard from the football. For some reason, LSU's backed way up. And it's hard to create a new line of scrimmage that's advantageous to you if you're that far off the original line of scrimmage. Because immediately, if the offensive line snaps it and you're a yard and a half back and they come get you, there is a new line of scrimmage. It's just a yard and a half towards the sticks. So I would imagine, based on what Brian Kelly has said there with new line of scrimmage, one, meaning we got to get there more quickly, two, meaning we need penetration. I would imagine you're going to see an effort at fixing that against Missouri. I can't promise you it's going to work, but I'm just looking at things that you think they may implement, you think they may try. The other issue that was flagrantly obvious multiple times in the game against Ole Miss was that there may be a lack of communication in spots. And Brian Kelly talked about his guys and actually getting communication accomplished.
Communication, there shouldn't be issues with communication. There should be, if you are in man coverage, you should know you're in man coverage. We had a situation where we thought we were in man and everybody else thought they were in man and one guy didn't think he was in man. So, those things can't happen.
And that right there, very obviously, was pointed out on the telestrator by the television crew and was evident that and when you get a guy that wide open for a touchdown, it's pretty obvious that somebody's not where they're supposed to be. And it was obvious just rolling the tape for 2 seconds that LSU's got 10 guys playing man and one guy playing zone. That can't happen. And quite frankly, here's how I fall on this. I think that's on the players. You can suggest that the coaches need to make sure all 11 players are on the same page. And I would agree in principle that the coach should make sure that 11 players are on the same page. But when 10 guys get it and one guy doesn't, it's on the guy. If you got 5 guys doing one thing and 5 guys doing another and 2 more are looking over at the sideline, that means you have 12 guys in the field, which is a problem in its own. But basically, if the whole defense is just totally throwing their hands up going, none of us know where to be, well, then the coaching staff's doing a terrible job of getting the information across. When 10 guys line up, get ready to go and run the play as it's supposed to be run, and one guy's not, I got a hard time saying, yep, coaches, that ain't going to get it. It's the same way I felt about LSU muffin kicks last year. I'm not going to tell you that Brian Polians did a bang-up job on special teams last year. They were atrocious, but I'm not going to blame him because you can't catch a punt. That's not the coach's fault. I'm not going to blame him because you got somebody offsides on a kickoff. That's the easiest rule in the sport. So LSU's coaching staff did a terrible job, in my opinion, on the defensive side on Saturday. It was the most yards ever given up by an LSU defense. They allowed over 50 points. They lost the game, and the offense was historically good. That's all true. But some of the stuff, the players just got to go do it. And there are layers to everything that we talk about. There are layers in recruiting. There are layers in development. There are layers in game plan. There's games in play call and execution. All those things have to line up. You got to go recruit the right players and get them signed. You got to get them onto campus and develop them. You got to get ready for the game on Saturday and put in a game plan that you're confident and comfortable with. And then you got to go out there on Saturday and do what you've been taught. There's a whole line, and there are breaks in this chain across the board for LSU. You've missed in some recruiting. You've had some guys transfer out. There are probably some guys on this team who haven't played up to their potential. You may be getting out coached on game day, and certainly the guys aren't executing things perfectly when you get out there. So there are breaks in this chain all the way through that go pretty deep. But so there's some individual things I can point to and go, come on, player X, you got to do a better job than that. You can do better than that. I've seen you do better than that. It's some soul searching this week for the LSU defense. There's no question about it. I would shudder to say that's a wake-up call. Florida State doing what they did should be a wake-up call. Arkansas doing what they did should be a wake-up call. You ought to be awake. You get the operator down at the Sheridan has called you enough times. Get out of bed. Get a chance to get out of bed pretty early for an 11 o'clock kickoff in Columbia. We'll talk about that as the week moves forward. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Sharif Ishak from WDSU will be our guest talking Saints on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. I've been telling you for over a month now about the folks over at Marucci Sports. Marucci founded in a backyard shed here in Baton Rouge, carving out some bats. All of a sudden, well, that's pretty good bats. All of a sudden, you look around Major League Baseball and dozens of stars are using Marucci equipment. But it's not just carving out some bats and getting them up to the big league level. Far from it. Marucci has done a phenomenal job of creating jobs in Baton Rouge, of keeping our top talent here in Baton Rouge to work at the Baseball Performance Lab, of attracting new talent to come into the state of Louisiana to work. They're also a boon for our tourism industry. They've created the Marucci World Series, which brings thousands of youth athletes and coaches and parents every single July to Baton Rouge. It's an awesome, awesome company that's doing awesome things for our state. If you know of one just like it, company, maybe it's a person or a nonprofit, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana so we can tell their story like we've been telling the story of Marucci Sports. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to Six Rings.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Some historical perspective on Jaden Daniels. Sean Salisbury will join us, and film review with Matty Hudak. It's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. We head out to Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy Sharif Ishak from WDSU. Sharif, the last 2 days haven't been all that happy. I doubt you're going to bring a lot of light to the program here.
Hell no, I'm not. Trash.
How's the Saints
Embarrassment.
offense?
All of it. It's embarrassing, trash, no identity, boring, bland, unwatchable.
Does it surprise you?
What's up?
Are you surprised?
Honestly, yes. You know what? This is honestly worse than last year because they have way more weapons and the entire offense is healthy. And last year they had Andy Dalton throwing to no one. This year they have everyone. So this is way worse than last year. It's not even close. It's way worse than last year. I don't want to hear any excuses. It's way worse.
Do you think the game plan changed on Sunday because Derek Carr was limited in any way?
I don't think so. I just think they overthought it. I think that Alvin Kamara was back, and I just hated everything about it. Everything. Like, they were throwing way too many passes around the line of scrimmage to each boundary. I just didn't think it was a good game plan. Yes, the Buccaneers have a good defense. They got speed. Please never run the reverse again like that with Alvin Kamara. Never, ever run that reverse again. Take it out of the playbook. Like, it was the worst call I have seen in a very long time.
The one where
like,
they handed it to Derek Carr and he tossed it back to Kamara? Yeah. Ooh, that was brutal.
Yeah. Taysom Carr to Kamara, never again. Don't do it. No one's fooled by it. And whenever, like I text with Lance throughout the entire game. He's like, bro, these packages aren't fooling anyone. When you put Limbaud in and Keith Kirkwood out there, they know they're running. There's no, like, creativity to the offense. They're trying to run a version of the Drew Brees offense, and it's not working. It has to stop. Like, that, those days are over with. You have to remove that from the game plan. You have to start using what you have on the field, which are pretty good weapons, Hunt. You cannot have, I think, 63 points through 4 games with all these weapons. That is just, it's disgusting. Something has to change.
What can get better?
Look, I'm with Lance. I mean, I don't know what more Pete can do. Nice guy, been with the organization since '06. I just don't know what more he can do. Maybe a fresh voice with Ronald Curry. Maybe it's time. I mean, maybe you give Pete maybe a game or two, but like, is it really going to get any better? I mean, defenses are good, and defenses know what they're doing. It's so predictable at times. Also,
yeah, go ahead.
Too much Taysom Hill kind of ruins Derek Carr's rhythm sometimes. And I just think that has to stop as well.
2-2 is not crisis mode in the NFL. 2-2 is not great, but it's okay. And so I feel like I'm a little bit putting the cart before the horse here in asking about Dennis Allen and him thinking about his future and being forced into this or that or doing something out of desperation. But like, at what point does Dennis Allen look at this and go, man, I need to make something change really quickly or else I'm in big trouble?
If it doesn't work this weekend, he better have some serious conversations. He needs to have serious conversations if it does not work this weekend. I mean, I don't know what else to say, Hunt. I mean, you've had a 4-game test, a 4-game run with this offense, and I understand Alvin just came back this week. It's still like there's no excuses for this. That you really shouldn't be this bad on the offense. And I don't get why you can't be creative outside of a reverse. Why can't the ball 3rd and 4 and you're throwing the ball down the left sideline 40 yards down the field near midfield? Why are you running that play? I mean, I don't understand. Why aren't you trying to get a first down? You know, some of it's on Carr. He had a couple bad throws, maybe 2 to Michael Thomas and 1 to Olave along the sideline where you underthrew it. But still, there's no, like, creativity there. Like, I just don't get it. Like, they need a fresh voice. To me, look, man, it looks like that Les Miles stuff that they ran back in the day, man. It just looks that bad and unwatchable at times, and it shouldn't be this complicated. They make things way too complicated. They should not be this bad and overcomplicating things with that offense.
You think the offensive line was any better this week?
Look, they were a little better. Even Trevor, I don't want to talk about the offense because they only put up 9 points, and it was thanks to Blake Grupe. But, yeah, there's one little silver lining. The offense played well, and Trevor Penning is playing better than he did in week 1. There's your silver lining.
The defense would be a silver lining as well. I know it wasn't a perfect effort against Tampa, but when you get no help, I don't know how much you can be counted on. How did you think the defense played on Sunday?
Awful. I
Okay.
think that was their worst game. Awful. So many reasons why that defense just looked. There's the pressure, very little pressure. It hasn't been there since the second half of the game against Green Bay Packers. Baker Mayfield, you made Baker Mayfield look like an all-pro. He is not an all-pro. A lot of missed assignments, missed tackles like that. Rashad White, the swing pass, and Yedem and Werner missed the tackle. He like near the goal line. They both missed the tackle on 3rd down. It's just small stuff like that. It was not a good game for the defense. Like there's no positive with that defense. It was just not good. Not good at all. That was their worst game since the Ravens game last year. It's too many missed assignments and tackles. There's nothing good to take away from that game other than maybe Brian Brzee.
Yeah, that was my next question. He's in the backfield making some plays. It looks like he may be figuring it out. How does that change the Saints' defensive front with him?
If just somebody, if someone else other than Brian Brzee could create some kind of pressure, it would be great for them. It'd be awesome. Like they started off hot against the Tennessee Titans and even the Carolina Panthers, and it seems like since when Derek Carr got hurt, everything was thrown out. It's like they got punched in the face and had no plan whatsoever. The offense and defense. It's just like they just stopped playing football. I do not know why the pressure just completely went away. This defense shouldn't be this bad up front. They were really hot to start. I think it's there, and I think Brian Brzee might help them. And it just wasn't there. It just what could go wrong did go wrong Sunday. Maybe it's a one-off. I don't know, for them to be completely flat on both sides of the ball, but it has to get better against. I think it's an awful Patriots team. They're awful. And they're hurt on defense. The offense is worse than the Saints' offense. There will be no excuses this Sunday.
I was going to ask you about the Patriots next. I mean, how do you feel about the matchup?
I mean, look, the defense should absolutely punish Mac Jones. They really should punish Mac Jones. And there will be, like I said, there will be absolutely no excuses for the defense this week. Paulson and Debo should be back. That'll help. Cesar Ruiz should be back for the offensive line off the concussion protocol. There will be no excuses, Hunt. If this goes south Sunday, I better hope Dennis Allen's going to make some type of change. No one's asking Pete Lomite to be fired. Just make a change with the play caller. Like, seriously. I mean, your job is on the line. Loyalty will only get you so far. Loyalty will get you sitting right next to us talking about the game.
So if I gave you a split at Patriots, at Texans, I said, I'll give you 1-1, and you can go play the Jags at home on October the 19th. Would you take that, or would you play them out?
I would only take it if we're showing if the offense is trending the right direction. Like if your offense is starting to show life and you're putting up points on the board and you're not the offense that has only 4 touchdowns and more turnovers through the first 4 games. I will take that if you're trending in the right direction. But in reality, you need to be 4-2 after these 2 games.
You think they
right
beat the
now,
Patriots?
3-1. So, yes, 4-2.
You think they beat the Patriots?
I do think they beat the Patriots. I think what Alvin Kamara said in the locker room after the game, we need to have a conversation because I don't like losing. I think that might have, caught the attention of the coaching staff and the rest of that locker room. I think that they come up with a good enough game plan. I'm not saying they're going to be awesome on offense, but I think they come up with a good enough game plan to make something happen against the Patriots. They went up there a couple of years ago and they figured it out against Mac Jones. I think they can figure it out again this time around, which I think against a team that's worse than the last time they faced them.
Pels had media day yesterday. Zion looking fit, looking trim.
Zion not smiling yesterday, and is probably as upset as I am today about the Saints. But yeah, he looked good. He's ready to. He's just constantly talking about ready to play basketball. I think he's tired of all the off-season stuff that happened. He doesn't want to hear about it. Doesn't want to hear more questions about is he committed to the city and to the franchise. I think you look at him more motivated. You saw more motivated Zion yesterday at that media day, and even today during practice, I'm just listening to some of the sound, and he seems way more motivated. I don't know. Maybe it's more about showing than saying to me. That same thing with the Saints. Show me. Don't say it. I want to see what you do when you get on the court when the season starts.
All right, Sharif, we'll talk next week.
Hope that I'd be so angry this next Tuesday, but after LSU's awful performance in that Saints offense, it has to get better.
You're not the only cranky one down here. There's plenty of them. So let's do a little bit better this weekend.
All right, I'll try my best next Tuesday. Thanks, Hunt.
Sounds good. Sharif Ishaq, WDSU down there in New Orleans. Just a cranky weekend. It's just the way it goes. People are going to be cranky. That's you toss in the Ryder Cup was bad for me. The Cubs not making the playoff. It's just bad. There's just bad stuff everywhere. We gotta re-get the vibes going in the right direction this coming weekend. Saints at the Bucks from Foxborough at noon on CBS coming up on Sunday. All right, got one more time out, and then we'll come back and close things up. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years in the business of remodeling and redesigning bathrooms and closets. If your closet is just a mess, you got suitcases all over the place, you got clothes hanging, falling all over the place, there are shoes crammed into places. It's no way to live. Let David Duvall and his team come in and customize a closet to your specifications. Maybe they need to do some remodeling, do a little bit of contract work. They can do that. Maybe it's just using the space that you've got more efficiently with some different racks, some different mirrors and drawers, cubbies, all that kind of thing. And they'll do it and it'll look beautiful. It'll be functional and beautiful. But you won't know unless you get the free consultation. Get David Duvall and his team to come over. They'll start you with a questionnaire. They'll find out what you have, what you'd like, what you need. And they'll put together a closet that fits your exact needs. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. There are testimonials there. There are pictures of their great work there. And you can request that free consultation right there at OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225
for a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench as we preview LSU versus Missouri, Saints versus Patriots, and the rest of the upcoming football weekend. And Matt Flynn joins the show for a full hour of flestering. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN, along with Acura Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes, Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. All right, one more order of business. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Georgia struggled at times in its 27-20 win over a rebuilding Auburn program and scratched out a win over South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
The Bulldogs will lose one of their remaining regular season games. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I don't think they will lose one. They got to play Ole Miss in Athens. They got to play Tennessee in Knoxville. I don't think Florida is a threat.
Kentucky.
Kentucky this weekend in Lexington. I'll get to my pick on Friday, but I'll just kind of give, without looking deep into the numbers like I will by the end of the week, when Georgia is asked to get up and play, and you know it's a big game and you know it's a big deal, that's a problem for the opponent. Like, yeah, Missouri can sneak up on them last year. Yeah, Auburn can sneak up on them this year. But how'd that Tennessee game go last year when all eyes were on them? How'd that go? I think that's kind of what I'm looking at on Saturday. I think they'll show up and bully Kentucky. But maybe I'll change my mind by the end of the week. We'll see.
Terry Francona stepped down as the manager of the Cleveland Guardians. Francona is a Hall of Famer. Take it or leave it.
Oh, you take that.
I'll take it.
Just a great manager. Did a brilliant job for a lot of his time in Boston, and then went to Cleveland and had them very, very relevant and competitive every single year. I really was fascinated. I mean, obviously, you know, the Indians at the time were the team that the Cubs beat to win the World Series, and just watching him manage that series was very interesting because they had really one starting pitcher. Like it was basically Kluber. Like Bauer was on that team, but he wasn't Bauer yet. He was a pretty average guy. And then they had a couple of just no names, and they kind of limped through it and found a way to get the ball back to Kluber. It was fascinating to watch him manage. He did a great job there. He's revered there. He's had some health complications over the last couple of years, so hopefully he gets that squared away. But also a College World Series MVP, if you weren't aware of that. Won the MVP back in the 70s, I believe, and was a big leaguer and then a great manager for a long time. So, yeah, I would put Tito in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Rangers GM Chris Young ripped Astros reporters for their tweets comparing the team's postseason berth celebrations. Astros were a little bit muted with theirs. The Rangers seem to have a little more fun. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. Well, I'll take his criticism. I'll take it. I think people often criticize a lot of like baseball celebrations here and there. That's a long season, man. Like, that is a lot of baseball. It's a long time. Like, football is a grueling season, but you play 17 of them in the end, and then you can celebrate a little bit. Like, baseball, it's flying all over the country multiple times a week, getting to hotels at 3 o'clock in the morning, playing 162 times. Like, it's a long, long grind. If you get to a point where you've clinched something fun and you want to drink a bunch of beer and spray champagne all over the place for 45 minutes, man, get after it. I'm all for you. I don't care if you think that it seems like you're just happy to be there. Like, if the Astros want to say, hey, we have bigger goals in front of us, we're not going to go nuts today, that's great. That's fine. If the Rangers say, hey, we don't do this all this often, nice job, guys, here's some beers, good for you. I think that's great. So, yeah, I'm not going to be, Team Astros here and go, I mean, I realize, like, the most common one here at LSU is if a baseball team loses on a Tuesday to Nichols or ULL or whatever, oh, that's their World Series. It's like, well, it is a big deal for them to play that game. And I'm not going to overreact to it when I come in here the next day and say, hey, this is what they did, this is what they didn't do. LSU needs to do this and go get them against Ole Miss this weekend. But it's a big deal for Nicholls State to beat LSU. Like, they're not going to throw their Friday night guy for 147 pitches, but if they win the game, good for them. They played a great game this year and beat LSU. So that's the one that kind of makes me, like, kind of question LSU fans or baseball teams. Like, oh, it's their World Series. Well, newsflash, like, Nichols beating LSU is a little more important to them than beating UNO on a Tuesday. That's just pretty natural behavior.
All right, last one here. The Manning cast. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Like, I certainly don't want to watch LSU on the Manning cast. I don't necessarily need the Saints on the Manning cast if I'm trying to really pay attention. But I did make a point to watch it for like 45 minutes last night. Like, it wasn't like one segment. I watched it for a while. Will Ferrell was on for the most part. It was kind of weird. They were trying to team up to like make fake play calls and stuff. But like, Peyton and Eli do have some good rapport. They've got good comments a lot of times. They've got some cool technology where Peyton's like moving these virtual guys around to show how plays are diagrammed and drawn up. I think the emotion's good, how they're always pulling for the offense. And when Daniel Jones threw that pick six last night, Peyton and Eli were just miserable, and that plays a little bit to me. It's not for everybody, and it's not for every game, but I do think as an alternative option, it's not the only way you can watch the game also. You can watch both, so they're not forcing that down your throat. Like, for game day, you don't really have an alternative. I guess you could watch SEC Nation, but like, people that don't like McAfee on game day, like, well, that's game day, so you got to watch it. You can watch either broadcast, so I think the Manning cast is good. I think that sometimes the guests are a little bit forced, but like the thing they did with Peyton and Eli calling the plays back last night was hilarious, where they were saying that they hate when coordinators give them the play call and then give them instructions and like look for the Mike linebacker or watch the check down on the left, and they're trying to call the play, and Peyton like blew a gasket, and it was really funny. I think it's good. I don't need it all the time, but I think it's a good deal. So that's it for Take It or Leave It. Tonight, sports trivia, Pluckers, 8:30. We'll be there at the Nicholson location. You can drink some cold beers, enjoy some delicious wings, watch some baseball on TV, win Pluckers gift cards with some buddies. Grab a team, come out solo. We always have a good time. 8:30 Nicholson location, and we'll be done by 10 o'clock. Always a fun time on Tuesdays. On today's show, open the show with Brandon Taylor, my guy from the LSU Sports Radio Network, him talking about what he sees from this LSU secondary and what needs to get better. I gave you some statistics on the production of the defensive line that are quite sobering, quite frankly. So went through that at 1:15. Glenn West of Go 24/7 with us at 1:30. You can find all that on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anywhere you find your podcast, you can find it. Also, Hunt on LSU is where you can find our LSU football commentary. I gave a hat tip to Kevin Gausman at the end of hour number one, who's going to start for the Blue Jays tonight. He's just been great in his MLB career, and I don't think necessarily has gotten as much much notoriety around here as Bregman or Nola or LeMahieu or some of the other guys. But he's had a great year, led the major leagues in strikeouts, and we'll get the ball later tonight. My thoughts on Brian Kelly press conferences, how much coaches get paid and all that at 2 o'clock, and then some actual sound from Brian Kelly at 2:15 before we got to Sharif Ishaq. You can find that interview at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Appreciate it if you'd subscribe up to that channel to get all your Saints information. On tomorrow's show, Jay Johnson's going to be with us to preview fall baseball. JD Piquel will be a What If Wednesday, and SEC football power rankings coming at you tomorrow. So a loaded Wednesday show. We're fired up for that. Matt's about to drive you home on AFR. We'll see you tonight at Pluckers or tomorrow at 1 o'clock.